Hi there, I'm Sue Elvis and this is another Evernote workshop video. So I'm wondering, how are you getting on with my videos? The first few have all been about the basics, setting up our Evernote notebooks. Maybe not very exciting, but I'm hoping that we are going to get on to something more creative, start enjoying putting our journals together. And in anticipation of that, I'm going to jump ahead today. Instead of doing a basics video, I'm going to make a video about an aspect of Evernote that quite a few people have expressed interest in, and that is saving our Evernote notebooks to our computers and printing them into paper documents. Yes, sometimes we are a bit wary of digital records. We might like to have something physical in our hands. So in case you are wondering about this aspect of Evernote, perhaps you're not quite sure if you want to use Evernote because of this reason, I'm going to do this video next because it might convince you that yes, you can keep digital records and also have paper ones, and then you might be encouraged to keep going with this Evernote workshop. Well, that's the idea. I hope you will be encouraged. Now there's one thing we need on our computers before we are able to save our Evernote notebooks, and that is a PDF print driver. I have the software Snagit on my computer. It's a program that I bought. It does a few interesting things. I use it all the time with my blogging, and also I do use it when I'm putting together my Evernote notebooks. I'm actually using Snagit right at this moment to record this screencast tutorial. Yes, it takes videos of everything that's on screen. It also takes screenshots, and I can annotate those screenshots. If you've been following along with my blog posts that go with this series, you will have seen some screenshots with arrows and other things on them, pointing out all the features that we're talking about. Well, I made them using Snagit. And this is the print driver that I use to save my notes to my computer. But if you don't want to buy a program like Snagit, you can use something like Foxit PDF Reader, which is free to download from the internet. I've downloaded it to my computer. I just tried it out. I didn't really need it because I already have Snagit, but I just wanted to prove that it can work, and it does. There's some other things that we need to do before we print our notebooks. Well, we're not actually going to print them. We're going to choose a virtual printer, the Snagit or the Foxit, and we're going to turn our notebooks into PDF documents, save them on our computers. And of course, PDF documents can be printed. So you might just want to keep PDF documents on your computer, store them on maybe an external hard drive as evidence of your journals, or you might want to actually go the last stage and print them. If you are printing, you might like to think about how often you save your notebooks and print them onto paper, because if you're going to do a term's worth or a year's worth, you could be using up an awful lot of paper, because we're going to be creating a lot of Evernote notes. I think you will be surprised how many learning experiences that we can capture within our Evernote notebooks. I've got lots of ideas to share with you. Also, we're going to be capturing lots of family memories. And then if you're keeping along with your diary, if you're going to write a diary every day, you also might want to print that as well. So, how often would I print an Evernote notebook? Well, I think maybe every week. It's worth actually thinking about it. Maybe every couple of weeks, depending on how many notes you have. If you look at my notebooks down here on the left panel, a lot of them have 50 or more notes. 45, 54, 57, 37. Some are smaller, 22, but yes, the notes can add up. Now I've got a notebook here on screen. It is the notebook for week 3 of term 1 of this year. The week began on the 13th of February. And I'm just going to go through it quickly. I'm not actually going to print this one, but I just want to go through a few things because before we've got to get our documents ready for printing. Maybe we don't want to print them exactly as they are. For example, if you've clipped articles and YouTube videos from the internet, you might want to clean them up a little. Just looking for something that has a little bit, there's one there. There's this article that was clipped from the Schmoop site, I think, and at the bottom of it, it tells us a little bit of information. People who schmooped this also schmooped all these other things. Now, we might not want to print that. That's a little bit of rubbish at the end of our note, even though we might want this summary of the Moonstone, Chapter 12 summary. That might be something that we want to capture in our notebooks, but we certainly won't want all this. So we might like to just, delete all that beforehand. There's more come in there, but I'm not going to go and delete everything. I just want to show you an example. Another thing we might want to think about is our font size. Is the font big enough for printing? Will it look good on paper? Do our notes all have the same default font? If we have imported notes from the internet, they might have a different font, but we can change that font. Over here, we can choose using our font selector, which is highlighted. We can change the font of any article we like, change the font size as well. We might want to have our font consistent through the whole document. Now, there's one other very important thing that we need to do before we start printing, and that is look at our images. Now, I had to play around with this earlier. I import all my images as huge files. I have a premium account and my monthly upload allowance is big, and so it does allow me to import big images. Also, the note allowance, each note only allows you to put so much information into it. If you have a free basic account, your limit for each note is small. But mine, because I have a premium account, I can put more within my note. I can put quite a few large photos in a note before that allowance is used up. So I've got a few photos in this one. And as you can see, they're quite big, except for the first one, because what I've done with the first one is I've changed its size. And the reason I've done that is because when we're printing notes with images in them, if the images are too big, the image will be spread over a number of pages. We'll just get a little bit on each page, and it will be very unsightly. We certainly won't be able to see this nice image. Well, actually, we might be able to see that one because I've made that one smaller. And how I did that was I just went through my note, I clicked onto it, and then I just dragged the corner down until I thought the image was about the right size. Now, what is the right size? Well, I don't really know. I did Google, and I didn't get a numeric value. I think it will depend on a bit of experimentation. Just have a go, see what make them smaller, export your notebooks. You're not going to print them straight away. You're going to save them as PDF documents. If it doesn't work out, you can delete that document. You haven't wasted any paper. Go back to your notebooks, make your images a little bit smaller. So, yes, images. Now, once we have prepared all our images and our notes, we've got the right fonts, we've got our images the right size, we've removed all the excess words and other rubbish that we don't really want in a printed document, then we're ready to print our notebook or to send it to our computer and save it as a PDF document. Now, what I've done is I'm not going to mess about with this notebook because I've done a lot of messing about with my notebooks, and I got myself into a bit of trouble yesterday experimenting, and I nearly lost a notebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this sample notes for printing document or notebook, and I've put some sample notes in it. I've just copied them over from other notebooks. Just chosen 8 notes that I'm going to use. So there's one with a cover image of a book that Gemma Rose was reading out loud to me. There's a it's a National Novel Writing Month NaNoWriMo report from Sophie. That was her word count, her stats when she wrote a novel last November. A blog post of Sophie's, and I actually have already made that image a little bit smaller than what it was in the original document. A Camp NaNoWriMo bit of information. A photo that I put in with a little bit of information about that photo, and again I have made that photo smaller. What also I could do is I could center that photo if I want, put it in the center. It does look better when we print them. Another similar one there, I could center that as well. There's a graph that Sophie made about her 1,000 calorie workouts. Yes, she kept some stats about her exercise for the week. And at the bottom, just a link from YouTube. And depends, you might want to keep the comments, you might not. It depends whether this is a video, a personal video, and this is a personal video, and these comments, we might want to keep those because they're relevant to our family. But if it was somebody else's video, we might want to remove all the last part of this note. Alright, all our notes are here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to select them all. They're all put over here in a bundle. And this is a nice feature. I'm going to go to Create Table of Contents note. And look what that does. That makes a list of all those notes, like an index. As it says, a table of contents. It tells us what's in our notebook. And if we have printed, or if we're preparing to print a week's worth of notes, we could go up here and we could put in, it could be week 1, term 1, 2017, our table of contents. And then we would know exactly what our kids were doing in that week of the term of this year. Now this looks pretty boring, doesn't it? English, history. It's all the titles are to do with the key learning areas, and as I've said in a previous video, I chose those titles, though they're boring, for the purposes of homeschool registration, because our AP or authorised person from the education department can see that my girls have been doing English, history, maths, creative arts. If I'd added some more notes, there would have been science, geography, history. As you can see from going through those notes, they're pretty unschooly notes. Things that my girls have been doing out of interest, but I have translated them into the right key learning areas. Now, you might want to do this way if you feel that that's beneficial for registration purposes. If I was just doing a family journal, I would write something very different as my title. I would choose some more imaginative words, and then when I had my table of contents, it would look so much more interesting. The titles would probably capture my attention. So that's something you can think about as well. Well, now we have 9 notes. Now it's time to get on to making a PDF document. Well, before we do that, there's one more thing we could do. And it's an option. We could, if I just choose all those again, you will see over here it says merge. We could merge all those notes into one note and then print them as one note. Why would we want to do this? Well, I guess it would save paper because each note would follow on from the next one without a page break. Sometimes a note might get divided in half between pages, and you might not like that. You might just think it's worth the paper to allow space between notes. And I'm not going to merge these notes and show you how I'm going to do this because I did this earlier, and I have discovered that once you merge your notes, it is impossible to unmerge them. or at least I haven't found a way of doing it. I did go over to edit and click undo, and then I sat here for half an hour and nothing happened. So then again, I had to put this in the trash and I had to find all these notes again. Luckily, it was just a sample notebook, so I wouldn't suggest that you go and mess about with your proper notebooks. If you do want to experiment, I would suggest that you copy them into a sample notebook and then play around with them. So I'm going to print mine as separate notes. I'm not going to merge them. And this is what we do next. We right-click onto one of these notes, go down to Print Notes, and then we're going to select a printer. It's really a virtual printer. I go through what I could use. I could use the Foxit Reader PDF printer. That's the free option that I told you about earlier in this video. You can download that. But I'm going to use Snagit 13, which is the paid software that I've been using and which I am using at this very moment to make this video. Once I've chosen that, I could go to Preferences. We can choose how many pages we want per sheet of paper. I'm just going to leave it as 1 page per sheet, but you might like to do 2, 4, whatever you like. You can condense your pages or your notes into less pages. Again, a bit of experimentation is probably needed to see where the images fit in, but I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to print it. We just wait, and then in a moment when Snagit has finished doing this, or the Foxit PDF print driver has done it, the document will be ready for saving. Now, jumping ahead here, I waited a couple of minutes and Snagit put that document together for me, and then the Snagit editor opened and I was able to save that document as a PDF. I just clicked on Save as PDF and then saved it to my computer. I can't show you that bit because the Snagit screen capture won't work on the Snagit editor. I guess it is trying to film itself. But I can show you the document. So if I open that up down here, I will show you what we ended up with. And here we are, Week 1, Term 1, 2017 Table of Contents. There's our notes. We go through. Each note has the title, which are the key learning areas. They're the ones I've put there, but you could make it any title that you like. It will show you the notebook. Now, the notebook was my sample notes for printing, but if I had done a weekly notebook, it might say Week 1, Term 1, 2017 there. The notebook was created at this date and time, and there's the tags associated with the note. That URL is the one that's associated with this blog post that Sophie wrote. You can see there that I have made that image the right size. It looks pretty good on that page, and the font is about the right size as well. So you could do this with Foxit if you don't have Snagit. There's one advantage to Snagit though, apart from the fact I couldn't film it, is that I could edit this PDF document. Well, before I saved it as a PDF document, it opened in the Snagit editor, and I was able to do a little bit more editing of it. Now, I couldn't eliminate anything, but I could annotate it. And what would I like to do for the annotation? Well, I show you what I did do. I took away our email address from the document because I knew that this is going to go on YouTube and I don't want my email address on YouTube. So I did that in the Snagit editor. Then I saved the document as a PDF. And now because this is a PDF, I can print it. All I have to do, go over there, press that print file, and I've got my document that I can print onto paper and put into a folder, maybe pass around, show people, yes, what our kids have been doing, or maybe just keep as a family record. Now, of course, you might think that you could make this better, and you can. I've just shown you this quickly, but, you know, I could have centered that picture there. I could have changed my fonts, made them different. There's lots of things I could do to make this look better. Yeah, I could have centered that picture there. It just takes a little bit of experimenting. See what you like, what will work out better. I actually have a PDF document that I saved on Foxit because I did it twice. I did that while I wasn't filming this video, so I might be able to open that up and show you that as well. So here's the same document, but this time I made it using Foxit. It looks pretty much the same. If we go over here, you can see we can print that as well. So now I have a notebook on my computer saved as a PDF. Of course, you could probably, if you've got a PDF converter, you could probably do some more with this document. But at the very least, you can now print it onto paper. So there we are. We have turned an Evernote notebook into a PDF file ready for printing. Our digital records have potentially become a physical paper document. So what do you think about that? Do you like the idea of having our notes as digital records, which we can store on our computers or on an external hard drive or even just in the cloud, but we can also have them as paper documents? This method of record keeping allows us to do two different things, because of course if we had only been doing paper records, writing everything on paper, we wouldn't have the digital versions as well. So this might be an advantage of maybe keeping homeschooling records or family journals or even a personal diary using Evernote and not a paper book. Talking of paper books, I've got an idea about how we can put our paper records into our Evernote notebooks, but that's for another video. So I hope you found this one useful, and if you have been sitting on the fence wondering whether you're going to use Evernote because of the issue of not wanting just digital records, I hope that you have been reassured and you're going to follow along with the rest of my Evernote workshop. So until next time, I don't know what we'll be talking about, but I'm sure that we'll be learning something else very interesting.